I'm Randy Feldman. I'm District Governor-elect from District 6840 in the United States. And we're here today talking about the Centennial celebration of our Rotary Foundation. And with me this morning are two Centennial experts. First, we have Stephanie Urchick from the Rotary Club of Cannonsburg, Houston, South Point, USA. She's a past governor of District 7370, past trustee of the Rotary Foundation, and the chair of the Rotary Foundation Centennial Celebration Committee. And sitting next to her is David Forward. David is from the Rotary Club of Medford Sunrise, New Jersey, USA, and is currently the governor of District 7500. He's author of A Century of Service, the story of Rotary International, and the author of Doing Good in the World, the inspiring story of the Rotary Foundation's first 100 years. As you can imagine, both Stephanie and David have a distinct perspective on what the future may hold for us as we enter our second 100 years of serving in Rotary, while supporting and being supported by the Foundation. You two can be sure that 100 years from now, future Rotarians will undoubtedly be looking back at what you say during this discussion, and for better or worse, quoting you. So no pressure. Stephanie, let's start with you. Can you tell us a bit about what's going to happen during the coming 12 months during our Foundation Centennial year? What's been planned? What are you hoping for? What will happen as a result of this celebration?
Yes, certainly, Randy. There are four main goals for celebrating the Foundation Centennial, including educating Rotarians and the public about the good work that we do, recognizing major accomplishments and achievements, celebrating this very important milestone, and of course inspiring support for the Foundation so that it can continue to do good in the world. Now, we're asking all Rotary clubs and districts to hold events, public-facing events, to help accomplish these goals. Now, we've been involved in all major Rotary events, helping to plan activities, including activities happening here at this convention, and that will culminate when we meet in Atlanta in June of 2017 for our convention. Randy, you and David and everybody in the audience will have an opportunity to attend the biggest birthday party you have ever experienced with cake and ice cream.
Ice and chocolate? You gotta have chocolate.
Well, get your request in early. Our success, of course, really depends, though, on our clubs, our districts, and our Rotarians. We've already heard from many Rotarians about things that have been planned, and we're excited to hear that. For instance, District 6630 in Ohio, USA, has already worked with the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. The orchestra is planning a special symphony that will be narrated, and it's going to tell the story of Arch Klump, the father of our foundation. Rotarians in Canada are planning to connect their country's 150th anniversary with the 100th anniversary of the foundation to do special events. We've heard from Rotarians in Estonia and Finland, in the Philippines, both sides of the USA and other parts of the world, about special dinners, major donor and legacy dinners that will be held throughout the year. We've heard about TRF 100 ties, TRF 100 wine, TRF 100 chocolate, and just yesterday in our breakout session, we heard from a Rotarian in India, and she's planning a special booklet, a diary, with 100 pages. And she's going to ask her Rotarians to think about doing 100 things during the course of the Centennial year that make a difference and to record them. So you can see the excitement is really contagious.
It's good to see these things are getting off the ground now. It really is exciting. David, I know people have asked you this. How long did it take you to write Doing Good in the World? And you must have come across some surprises doing all this research.
Oh, Randy, it took a little more than 7 years to research and write the book, and yes, there were many surprises, but you know, that was actually part of the fun of doing all that research. There are so many aspects of the Rotary Foundation that we all take for granted. What I wanted to do was to tell the story behind the story.
And it's all in here, right?
It's all in there.
This is the book.
For example, we've heard today about this man, Arch Klump, the man who conceived the idea of an endowment fund to do good in the world. Who was Arch Klump? And we all know about that famous first $26.50 contribution to the foundation. What I wanted to know is what came next. Did the floodgates of contributions open and money come streaming in? Well, Randy, the answer is absolutely not. In fact, there was a lot of opposition to Arch Klump's idea, and it took almost 10 years for the Rotary Foundation to actually gain traction. And who conceived of, or how did we originate ideas such as Polio Plus and the Peace Fellows program? And did you ever wonder how we became partners with the Gates Foundation? Well, that alone is an interesting story. After Bill Gates Sr. had given an inspiring speech to our international convention in 2007, John Osterland and Ed Futer and Luis G.I. rode to the airport with him. Mr. Gates spoke enthusiastically about the work that Rotary was doing for polio eradication. And so as they walked across the tarmac to his jet, these three Rotarian leaders asked if he would maybe consider including a donation to our Rotary Foundation. John Osterland told me, David, he was literally walking up the steps of his plane and he turned around and said, "I'll have my people call your people." That was on a Wednesday. The following Monday, the Gates Foundation did call, and within a few months, we had received a bank transfer of $100 million.
Wow.
So those are some of the stories where I found real surprises as I conducted my research. You see, while many of us think of the Rotary Foundation as this great, big, wonderful corporate entity, what I found is that the story of the Rotary Foundation is really the story of individual Rotarians. Without one ordinary Rotarian called Arch Klump, we wouldn't have a foundation. Without ordinary Rotarians like Clem Renoff, we would never have had the Health, Hunger, and Humanity program. Without ordinary Rotarians like Robert Hinkson from Pennsylvania, who invented this amazing thing called the Peace Gun. And he came to the Rotary International Board and demonstrated that the Peace Gun could inject mass immunizations, in fact, 1 million children in just a few days. And because of that ordinary Rotarian, RI President Jack Davis captured the vision to launch a mass immunization program for children. Without, therefore, Robert Hinkson, we probably would never have heard of Polio Plus.
I love those individual stories. As a former fundraiser, the Gates Foundation one speaks to me. Never happened to me, by the way. Stephanie, have you had any surprises yourself? And what are you excited about in the coming year?
Well, I think one of the biggest surprises and most welcome has been the fact that so many Rotarians are already planning special events. We know that Rotarians understand their cultures and their geography the best, and we know that they're going to plan activities that make sense for their regions. The other thing that was a surprise is the fact that the Centennial celebration has leveraged interest in and support of our foundation by some Rotarians who haven't done that in the past. So that's a nice surprise. It does represent, the Centennial does represent a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When the foundation celebrates its 200th anniversary, we won't be here.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Make a note.
So all Rotarians have this opportunity now to support the Centennial activities, to support the foundation, and to help us keep doing good in the world. That's a really important thing. You know, I often speak about how important it is to celebrate significant dates in our personal histories. Our wedding anniversaries, the day we graduated, the day we said yes to Rotary and became inducted into our clubs, and our birthdays.
Yeah.
I believe that when someone or something is born, the world changes. Randy, what's the date and month of your birthday?
October 28th.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on October 28th, in whatever year that was,
We're not saying.
Randy was born, the world changed, and it has never been the same since.
You've spoken to my wife, haven't you?
No. So when Arch Klump spoke 100 years ago, on June the 18th, 1917, and he suggested we create a fund to help Rotary do good works, the world changed, and it has never, ever been the same.
True.
It can't get more exciting than that.
Yeah, and I think we all know the excitement that you have for this, and these dates are important, obviously. Let's take this in a slightly different direction. David, we all know that the Rotary Foundation funds projects that literally change people's lives. Can you share with us a few examples of stories where you were actually moved by what was accomplished?
Oh, wow. What a challenge. How much time do we have?
You have 2 minutes, David.
Could we maybe extend that by 4 hours?
Not a chance.
Well, I have a secret to tell everybody, but you have to promise not to let it go outside of this room. The only disagreement I ever had with the editors at Rotary International was over the number of stories that I had told that recount how our foundation is continuing today to change people's lives. I had made this timeline of all 24 global time zones, and then found examples in each one of those zones of the work that our Rotary friends are doing through our foundation. But then it got to editing, and they said the book would be too long. And so I had to cut many of those stories that by the time I had written them, Randy, and interviewed the people and gone on site in many cases to see the good work, I had become deeply and emotionally involved with the stories. And now they had to be eliminated. So now I just have to tell those during speaking engagements. But you asked me how I was moved. I was moved by the project in Mongolia that Rotarians from Korea and Taiwan and Hong Kong launched, and which has provided tens of thousands of women with cervical cancer screening and treatment. They used the Rotary Foundation grants that you and I helped to fund to literally give the gift of life. I was moved by this U.S. Marine called Larry Connolly, who was not even aware of the Rotary Foundation until he heard a presentation on it during PETS. And like Arch Klump and thousands before and after him, Larry had a vision. He put together a Rotary Foundation grant, and he took a team to the very village in Vietnam where he had been critically injured during the war. And today, there are clean drinking water wells and safe sanitation facilities and a job training center for women who have been victims of sexual abuse, all because of this one ordinary Rotarian called Larry Connolly and our Rotary Foundation. I was moved by the story in Zambia, where many women whose husbands have died because of AIDS were forced into prostitution just to support their families. Well, long before I ever discovered that, a Rotarian called Bob Selinger did. And so on a visit to Zambia, Bob persuaded his home club to partner with the Zambian clubs to put together a foundation grant and start a cooperative where women use their talents as artists and seamstresses, and they create items that are now sold all over the world, providing them with dignity and an honorable profession and sufficient income to support their families. You see, I don't have the time to tell the whole story here, but every page of that book, Randy, was written with the passion, the heritage, the commitment, the generosity of how Rotarians have been a gift to the world long before President Ravi brought it to our attention, and gift to the world that exemplifies the work of our Rotary Foundation.
Well, we can certainly hear the passion in your voice about these stories. You obviously have been moved. Stephanie, you have sitting here in front of you representatives of Rotary clubs from all over the world. Now, what advice can you give them to take back home? What can they do to inspire the excitement that you and David, and obviously lots of us here, already have?
Well, the first advice I have is for Rotarians who are here to absolutely make a point to visit the Rotary Resource Center. There is so much information that's already available, and they can simply take it home. We also have volunteers there who will help show them the Centennial website if they haven't already visited the site. It can be found at rotary.org/foundation100. It's an amazing site that is full of information. It has information about how to become involved, ideas for Rotarians and clubs. It has a history of the foundation, not quite as extensive as David's book, but it'll whet people's appetites. It also has links for how to order the Centennial Foundation book, how to make contributions to the Rotary Foundation, and then there's a special section called the Centennial Promotion Kit. It is a very large downloadable file that has everything Rotarians could possibly need to help jumpstart the activities they're planning. It has flyers, bookmarks, it has the Centennial video, which we saw, just full of information, press releases. So I encourage everyone to visit the website, download that file, so they will have information ready immediately to use.
And I can vouch for that because I've already used it in our district, and it is a wealth of information. I urge you to go there.
Great. You can also use the website to begin to understand more about the celebration and to craft your own special message. What are you going to say to people when they ask you about the Rotary Foundation 100 celebration? You know, there are general messages, and that's okay, but most people relate to people. So if you have a special story, as David has mentioned, about how the foundation works magic, that's the story that you want to use to craft your message. Once people leave our convention and end up back home, certainly I hope that they'll use the Centennial website at a club meeting. Take information to the club. Take David's book to the club and read a brief passage. Show the Centennial video that we saw. Those are all great ideas to help get people engaged. But more importantly than anything else, everybody needs to be excited. Think big and speak big and act big about the Rotary Centennial, and there's no way that club members won't follow you and do the same.
Now, you also had a suggestion about the Arch Clump figures out in the Kintex.
Thanks for reminding me. Absolutely. Hidden in this hall, in Hall 1 and Hall 2, are 5 stand-up cutout figures of Arch Clump. So if convention goers are using the mobile app from Rotary, each time they find one of the cutouts, they can use the click button and record that they found it. Then they can visit the Rotary Resource Center and be entered in a contest to win a copy of David's book. Even if they don't play the game, Where's Arch, I think it's really a good thing to find the cutout and take a photo, take a selfie, post it to social media, and then share it with their club members. Another great way to help people see how important the Centennial will be to our next Rotary year.
That's great. And so we've been talking about the past 100 years, we've been talking about the next 12 months. But David, have you discovered in your work anything that gives you hope for the future?
Oh, sure, Randy. I think, firstly, the most important indicator of the successful future of our foundation started with the work that past President Luis G.I. and his team did when they launched the Future Vision Plan. That reorganized our foundation so that it is on a solid, organized, sustainable journey that's going to take it to new heights in the future. But truthfully, Randy, that's boring stuff to most of us. You know, if you're like me, you don't want to hear about budgets and internal efficiency consultants. We are here today wearing this pin and supporting our foundation because we care about leaving the world in a better shape than we found it. Mother Teresa once said, "I can do things you cannot, and you can do things that I cannot, but together we can do great things." To me, that has been the story of our Rotary Foundation. Some of you out there today have made very large and generous donations, perhaps becoming Arch Clump Society members. Others go back time and time again to immunize children, provide clean water and sanitation, to help the sick, the hungry, the poor, the hopeless. And the best part of our Rotary Foundation is that whichever of these things stirs the passion in you, there is a place for you to help move our Rotary Foundation up to the next level, the next century of service. Randy, I'm sort of an old-fashioned chap, and every word that I wrote in this book started off being written with my fountain pen. With this pen, I was so privileged to tell the story of Rotarians coming together in harmony to build the first 100 years of our foundation. But with these hands, you have the ability, indeed the duty as Rotarians, to begin writing the next chapter. In fact, it's going to be the first chapter of our next book in Rotary's Foundation of Hope.
Well, we're privileged to have had both you here. You're both experts and excited and passionate about what you've done. And I just have a few concluding thoughts. But first, please join me in thanking Stephanie Urchick and David Forward.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Talking to you today, I'm reminded of some comments that came out of the Zone 3031 District Governors-elect training last fall. We were trying to put into words the importance of an average Rotarian's contribution to the foundation. Why do we feel so strongly about every Rotarian every year? That every Rotarian should be a part of the foundation's work. And what we realized was that in asking the question, we already had the answer. By giving to the foundation, we become part of the foundation's work, all of it, all over the world. That even if not one of us had used conflict resolution skills in the Amazon River Basin, that, as one of our Rotary Peace Fellows said, because we are in Rotary, each one of us was there. That even if not one of us had rebuilt a flooded home in New Orleans, that because we are in Rotary, each one of us was there. And even if not one of us had placed a drop of polio vaccine in the mouth of a child in Jaipur, India, that because we are in Rotary, each one of us was there. When we support the foundation, we become part of all of that. And I think that's why we all feel so strongly about our foundation, because it is our foundation. It's there for us as much as we are there for it. And that's been true now for over 100 years, for millions of Rotarians who've touched countless lives and used our foundation to keep on doing good in the world. We're just a group of ordinary people who volunteer the hours of our days and the monies of our livelihoods to change people's lives for the better in our local communities and around the world. And to me, that is the profound and yet simple legacy that the Rotary Foundation Centennial celebrates. And it is the reason we can look forward with hope to the future. Thank you all.